You know, it is usually very, very difficult to discern at that point in time what a year will truly be known for. You know, what future changing consequences or terms or ideas that popped up in the preceding year is going to have an effect on every year thereafter. Not so for 2023, however, as the words AI and controversy well, they're going to continue ringing quite loudly into a year after year after year after year after this. And it will probably be applied to damn near everything, whether good or bad. As what we have here today is a topic where AI is absolutely the correct solution, the unequivocally and absolutely correct solution, and yet still it is a controversy. Why? Well, the ancient Magus' Bride AI controversy sets a bad precedent for manga translations, reads the headline of this article right here. And it does bring up some valid points, like for example the fact that the machine translation could simply just be absolute awful garbage. This is a problem that machine translations have had for quite some time when it comes to converting Japanese to English, because the sentence structure of the two languages are wildly different. And so if you simply translate word for word for word, you're going to end up with a sentence that sounds really, really weird, and in the worst cases is simply illegible. But a good editor can absolutely solve that, and if you're dealing with an actual AI language model, well, the entire point of it is that it learns. So every time you feed it a correction, the AI goes, oh, okay, that's how that works. I won't make that mistake again. Until eventually, after you've fed it enough corrections and enough text, it will be able to do the job by itself. And eventually the role of the editor will simply just be quality assurance and checking. So how is this a controversy? Well, there's a couple of reasons for that. First, allow me a brief little deviation here to complain about Japanese piracy. Or more correctly, to complain about the Japanese complaining about piracy. So, the main reason why this is being done is so that the manga, The Ancient Magus' Bride, can be simultaneously released by the company in Japanese and English. This is because the company says a lot of people pirate their products. Now, I want to add in a little bit of a correction there, because piracy sounds like they're just taking it, copying it, pasting it somewhere else, right? Okay. Fair enough, that's piracy. But what's more often than not happening is that people steal it, quote unquote, translate it for free, usually within a handful of days, and then post it on a manga site. That isn't stealing, good sir. That is improving upon your shitty product. I know, a pinch aggressive perhaps, but if hobbyists can translate and release your products faster than you can, well, sorry, but they're providing a superior service to you. And this, oh god, in the West, we have this issue where every creator of entertainment is desperately trying to grind down their creation into the most widely appealing paste imaginable, ignoring their actual audience in favor for people who don't actually give a shit about it, and thus needing to change their product in order to appeal to people who don't actually want the product. Meanwhile, in Japan, they've got the issue with people begging them, shouting at them, crying and sniveling for them to just please translate it into a language that isn't moon runes. And then nothing else. They don't want to see it change. They just want the product. And Japan has for decades gone, no, filthy gaijins. Unironically. I remember, 10 plus 20 years ago, right? One of the reasons that the Japanese publishers gave for why they weren't translating visual novels into English was because those darn filthy gaijins would just pirate it anyways. It's like, well, You have afforded us absolutely no option but to pilot it now, so we're damn well going to do it now, aren't we? As fan translations were the only way to actually enjoy Japanese entertainment back then. Piracy is 98% a service problem. And in the case of Japanese entertainment, it's 100% a service problem because there is no service. Just Japan. Again, if a hobbyist can do your job better than you, you really are the problem. And so doing this is absolutely the correct solution, trying to make machine translations. But that has, because of Japan's absolute lack of service, created a bit of a different community. The localizers, not translators, mind you, localizers. That is a distinction with a rather pronounced difference. So people have put up some of the more egregious examples. I am unfortunately doing some of my finest localization, they themselves call them localizers, by the way, work on the anime about a high school girl who is legitimately sexually attracted to a corgi. The translation: I am sorry I yeeted you. Any other time I'd love to be all up in her dress. Nekatani looks like she needs eye bleach. It may shock you to learn, but these are not very faithful translations. I do not even need to see the originals to tell you that these are not very faithful translations in the slightest. And why is this the case? Well, this one explains it. I love the idea that the localization determines the demographic. Of course, the genre tester will have an influence too, but why exclude potential fans by seeking to only appeal to those in the know? In other words, fans. So that has evolved this idea that the localizers are allowed to create their own product out of the manga that they are translating, and making it for different audiences than the actual fans of that product. Previous example here. So a message says, I'm honestly curious, so you are transforming the translation because you don't like the material given to you? On an official published project, why not take on another project instead? And that is not the case here. This may surprise you, but I love the material. The translation is not for you, you are not the intended audience. That's the key right there. We've kind of touched upon this yesterday about the need for endless inclusivity, blah, 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 blah. This is that. This is a person who has a product that they've been given, are being paid to translate to its intended audience, and due to there having been no oversight whatsoever in translation from the actual Japanese owners, they have come to the conclusion that, oh, but we are trying to destroy every single fandom under the sun. And here, well, we're the gatekeepers. We're the only ones who can translate this. You have to go through us. And so obviously, being the vile, disgusting human beings we are going to force you to read it in our interpretation, to the point where the actual people who are fans of it are not the intended audience, because the localizer has decided to determine who the audience is rather than the actual work itself. This is beyond cancerous. Like, the entire idea that somebody that didn't make it should transform it and feel justified in doing so, to the point where they will change the target demographic of a work, is ridiculous. And it is a significant problem within the translation community. So this is what this article is actually defending, making, for example, the argument that, what was it here, translation is not a science, it is an art. No, it is not. It is not an art at all, because localization is not the point. I do not want to read a Japanese manga written in the sensibilities of a Westerner. I want to read the Japanese manga. Now, of course, it needs to be accurately translated, and whether they are using unique terms or localized knowledge or words for monsters, for example, like Oni. There should be a little annotation down the side saying Oni translates to ogre, meaning a special Japanese monster. It has been translated to Oni here to preserve the original work's intent, because ogre isn't quite the correct terminology for Oni, etc. That is what you actually want, because it may surprise you, but if a thing is popular, it's more often than not because it's good. This is what I've been saying for years now. Star Wars is Star Wars because it's Star Wars, not despite that fact. And it is popular in turn because that is what it is. Warhammer is popular because it's Warhammer, not because it's something else. Japanese manga is popular because it is Japanese manga. Attempting to turn it into, well, Marvel Comics, or worse still, some sort of in-joke for a very specific and small demographic, is not going to be enhancing the product. Weirdly enough, I know. And so a lot of people have also been speculating that a part of the reason why they're doing this is to avoid the localizers. Now, I don't think the Japanese, ensconced within their little bubbles, even know about this problem, because they haven't for the last 20 years. But it will be a very fortunate quinky-dinky-winky as a consequence of their move towards a machine, because the AI is far more unlikely to insert its own ridiculous political ideology into its professional labor than some rando SJW is. So yes, AI translation? Absolutely. In fact, this will be the future right here. The Star Trek future, where everyone will simply have like a device that they can just plug into their ear or whatever, or a mode on their glasses that translates any text. That is the future. That is what is coming, until eventually we arrive at the point where different languages are virtually obsolete, because anyone and everyone can translate anything and anything at any time. That's the future I want, so that we can still enjoy authentic entertainment. Something written in the style of an American. American comics is different than French comics, is different than Japanese comics. And the ideal outcome is that we get to enjoy all of them in their uniqueness rather than in their pasty, tasteless, ground down, good enough for everyone-ness. AI translations. An absolute moral good. Until next time, I have been Arch. Thank you all very much for watching, and I do hope to see you all again soon. Till then, have a good day.